Today I'm going to be talking about one of the most well-known Italian films, La Dolce Vita. Now, even if you haven't heard this film, you've probably heard that title, you've probably heard of it, even if you hadn't seen it, or you've probably seen portions of it. But today I'm going to go really in depth. I literally just saw it yesterday, so it's very fresh in my mind, and I'm really excited to talk to you about it. But before we get into that, definitely subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up, comment below what other videos you'd like me to do, and hit that bell notification to be notified whenever we upload more great content just for you. All right, now that that's out of the way, let's get right into La Dolce Vita. La Dolce Vita, the great Italian film from the early 1960s. It's an absolute classic, directed by Fellini. It's certainly perhaps his most famous work, perhaps that and Eight and a Half. And it was also, I believe, the first collaboration between Fellini and Marcello Mastroianni, who is a great Italian actor. I'm definitely a big fan of his. I thought he was really great in this movie and in all those Fellini movies, as well as in other films. I mean, I've seen him, in particular, I suppose, I think his performance in La Dolce Vita, as well as Eight and a Half, is great. And another film, not by Fellini, but another film that I thought that he was great in was La Notte, another great Italian film, all from that era. I mean, that was really Marcello Mastroianni's heyday, I would say from 1960 to 1966 or so. He did so many incredible films. I mean, he had an incredible run during those few years, and certainly afterwards as well. Again, absolutely great collaboration, in particular with Fellini. For some reason, they seem to work very well together. And in La Dolce Vita is kind of an interesting one because it's one of those movies that I hadn't seen. I saw it yesterday for the first time, actually, in my life. It's one of those movies that I had avoided seeing my entire life. I saw basically so many of the other Fellini movies. I'd always loved Eight and a Half. For some reason, I just never got around to seeing La Dolce Vita. So I saw it for the first time yesterday, and it was very interesting. I liked how it's not as plot-driven, because the more time passes, the more I love those kind of movies. The more I love making those kind of movies. I love writing in that style so much, you know. Some of my recent films, the one I just filmed is not necessarily plot-driven. I just filmed the movie My Last Words, and we're currently in the editing process as I'm filming this. We're going to be submitting it to all the festivals soon, where it's clearly going to be headed for all the top festivals, and we need all of your support for that. And I'll obviously be talking more and more about that as it comes out. But the point is, as a filmmaker myself, I get it with all of that. It's really interesting how I just love when, you know, it's about relationships between characters. It's about all of that. And there's a plot and everything, but it's not about the plot. It's about more than it's about. And that's really what I tried to do with my movie, My Last Words. That's what Fellini did with La Dolce Vita, and frankly, with so many of his other films. He's really thought of as the quintessential Italian genius of cinema, I suppose, him, along with Sergio Leone, and then, of course, so many others. I mean, the director of La Notte, incredible as well. Again, there's so many great Italian directors in that period in particular. In the 1950s, 1960s, that was really a golden era for Italian cinema at Cinecittà Studios in Rome. I absolutely love La Dolce Vita. Was shot, a lot of it, in Rome. I love that you see some of the city. You see the Trevi fountain, the Fontana di Trevi. I was there once many years ago, so I've been to that location. It's absolutely beautiful, and I really love how they incorporated that. It's kind of like another film that I love is Roman Holiday, where they also incorporated the Trevi Fountain as well, but they incorporated in Roman Holiday even a lot more sites, like the Colosseum, the Mouth of Truth, all these incredible sites. But in La Dolce Vita, you definitely see some of that. It's kind of very episodic, so it kind of moves from an episode to another. It follows mainly Marcello Mastroianni's character, who's ironically named Marcello in the movie. He's kind of a reporter following the rich and famous, and it's about the decadence of that life. It's kind of about him, you know, losing his soul in that life, so to speak. At least that's kind of my interpretation of it. I mean, not to give any spoilers, but the movie just kind of follows him as it gets into more decadence and more decadence. And then finally at the end, the interesting thing is with that girl at the end on the beach, it's like he can't hear her, and it's almost like the reason he can't is because she's too pure, and he's kind of gone past the point of no return in his life. He's kind of sold his soul at that point. At least that was the way I interpreted that ending, at least in a simplistic way. And for those of you who haven't seen the movie, you won't know what I'm talking about. But essentially, the movie just follows Marcello Mastroianni in these episodes with his fiancée, his mistresses, his celebrities he has to be around, things like that. So it kind of just follows his life. There is a time jump, obviously, but the first portion of it is fairly chronological, it seems like. And then there's a bigger time jump. And it just explores his relationship, with his, as I mentioned, with his fiancée, his mistresses, his father even shows up. It's really just it's a very deep movie, which is the kind of movie I absolutely love. There's a lot of symbolism in there, whether it's intended or not, nobody ever knows, but there is a lot of symbolism, I believe. And again, it's just one of those incredible movies. I absolutely love it. And that's really all I want to say about it. All right, well, thanks so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this review. Definitely subscribe to the channel for more reviews like this, and comment below what other videos you'd like me to do. What other filmmaking tips of the trade or movies you'd like me to talk about, I'm here for you. That's all, folks.